Hi, I'm pleased to announce that I almost did a little bit of self-punishment by filming this video in the state of Phineas former president, which is such a strange little distinction that I've made. And yeah, I'm going to be dealing with a couple of more real-world circumstances in this video. Mostly there was one inciting event that concerned my family a little bit that brought a lot of emotions to mind that I want to be able to sort through. And these videos is how I sort through some of my more complex knots of emotion. And because it has to do more with the real world, is when I put on Phineas President just now to try and begin sorting some of that stuff out, because it's more of a real world thing. And I had been feeling a little bit more like a human who sometimes wears a VR headset, and a human with a challenged life position. But I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to treat the position as any more challenged than it actually is. We'll get to it in a second, but I'm still doing a little bit more prefacing. It won't take too much longer. Because the other thing that I want to bring up is just context for the emotion state I'm coming at from. Because my relationship has been progressing very nicely and swiftly, perhaps, but on what timescale does that even mean anything? That's kind of a meaningless thing to go by anyway. And that's already a lot for me to learn, so I am in a bit more of an emotionally heightened space, generally speaking, which is why what I'm presenting today struck in more of a specific way, but also because I'm still recently sober and I don't have my normal coping mechanisms, it's very important to bring these emotions and try and sort them out in a constructive fashion when normally I would just drink and forget all about them. So I need to try and handle what I was feeling today, even though it's going to be hard for me to do, and some of the challenge that you're going to see me present throughout this video is also some emotional leftovers, I suppose, bleeding in from generally being a little emotionally raw these days, just because I've been undergoing a tremendous amount of growth. Now I've said enough of the background that we can go ahead and get started, and let's describe the beginnings of the inciting event that while I was at work today, it just really tanked my mood and made me want to drink harder than I have for a very long time. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about why it upset me so much and what the difficulty is there. Let's get to it. The inciting event. It's so silly. I mean, to me, it's big. But the only thing that happened is I received a text from my sister about um, some of um, the bottle drop system, I guess, like returning bottles and cans and getting money from them, and what that looks like, because that was something that I had done when we had lived together, and I had set that up because prior to that, cans had just been piling up outside, and so I said I'll start at that system, and I took care of it for a little bit, and then she had just asked, hey, now that you've moved out, how does that work? Do we need to do something special, or is just the card enough? And then I answered and just gave lots, the information about, oh, well, the card work, here's just how it works. And then my mood tanked. And it tanked for extreme, but perhaps understandable reasons if you don't think too hard about it. Because to me, it's a little too much going on there, which is why I'm making a video about it in the first place, because I felt very strongly. Because the bottle drop thing is something that I did while we lived together. And I did not take care of all of them before I had moved. There were still bags left. And so when they asked, hey, what's the system like? I received it as I didn't do the job the right way. I didn't do enough of the job. So I felt tons of shame about, okay, well, now I have to answer the question, how do they take care of the system? Because it was a job that I was unable to finish. That's wrong, because they just have bottles anyway. I'm not there. It's been I think 5 months or something like that. It's been long enough that they just have their own bottles. It's not but I'm receiving it as a really big deal. Why is that? Well, thing is, it's not about the bottle drop system, and I understand myself well enough by now to understand that when something small happens, like a text message, and I get set off to such an extreme degree, there is something else absolutely going on. Just by small example, this is a very obvious place to take it for me, and it's still a very small part of the equation. I did not finish the bottle drop system because I had sold my car, and so I had to borrow a car to go do the bottle drop thing. And I have problems with that. First of all, they were just in a new car, and I didn't want to borrow a new car, so I'm on the hook for if anything happens to the new car, I don't want to spill soda, tear something, get in a whatever, so I just did not want to borrow that car. I would have rather rented a car to take the bottles out, like kind of a rough system. And I was never really upfront with explaining why I'm not doing it. It was just on the inside something I was deeply uncomfortable with doing. And we'll probably get more into that by the end of the video. But in addition to not wanting to drive like a new car and be on the hook for that, is I have a tremendous amount of shame from previous, more unstable parts of life where I, especially one time in particular, had borrowed the car without asking. Uh, Caused kind of some problems. And yeah, I had some things going on, and everything turned out all right by the end. But that's something that was so many years ago, and I still haven't like totally forgiven myself about that because that's just not okay behavior to do, especially to a family member, and we're pretty close. And so every time I try to like borrow a car, that I'm still remembering that particular night and the problems that were caused by my mood states that I had not properly regulated. Yes, I had a lot going on, but I still did something that's not okay. If I try to borrow the car now, I'm remembering 10 years ago the thing that I did with the car that was not okay. And when I get a text message about the bottles, I remember I didn't take out all of the bottles like I said I was going to because I needed to borrow a car to do that because 10 years ago I made a massive mistake. I do not want to belabor these styles of points too frequently. We're going to hit one more just to show you guys how rapid and easy these kinds of bubbles of challenge are to summon so that you can get an idea of how much and how frequently this is swimming around in my head. So we'll do one more little example that doesn't sound great because it's just a frustrating place to be. But then I want to move on from just like, I don't want to vent frustrations. This is more laying groundwork for the discussion we're going to be having later. So the next one has to do with a swimming pool because the swimming pool, we had a little backyard swimming pool while we lived together. One was like a nice family size, but like you blow it up, there's 3 rings. So it was a blow up swimming pool we had for the summer. And I had said that I'd clean it out because it was very algae full, that I'd clean it out in time for like a birthday to happen. And I did by one day. As I was busy being Phineas Former and learning how to do that and making all sorts of other mistakes at the same time, and I did not handle moving out very gracefully. So home was kind of a stressful place to be. And then I said I'll clean the swimming pool, but I had never done that before, and I was in the kind of brain state where that was just the biggest problem on planet Earth. Because how do you do that? I'm looking it up, and then how do I drain all this water? And then I just, oh my goodness gracious, people, that was a rough couple of days to be Phineas Former. That was a rough time. And that's just going to illustrate another point where I'll clean the pool, ended up making it, but barely within deadline. And I have shame about that because I said I was going to, and I would have liked to handle it sooner than I did. It was just a very complicated thing for me to approach for a whole bunch of reasons, and that's a piece of shame regarding my family members that I carry with me, honestly, pretty frequently. There's just another example of something that I struggled with doing, and I didn't want to be struggling in relation to my family anymore. It's just something I seem to have a big history of doing. Due to the nature of how I work, as I've brought up before on this channel, when something happens like bottle drop system, I was unable to complete that system because I was struggling. Other times I've struggled also come to light, such as the swimming pool moment, and these are both examples from just within the past 6 months. 8, maybe, like recent though. And there's a whole life of experiences, baby, because I've been a little struggle boy for a grand majority of my life. And my family members have been there through every step of the way, man. Like, we're pretty close. So they've seen me more than I care to acknowledge or even know how to acknowledge. And we are now officially done talking about things I've messed up on. If I was in a less inspired position and less adept at handling my emotion states, I would keep rallying on the text message, what happened, here's the story, and here's what, and I would just like, I'd be focusing in on like that very narrow inciting event. But there's bigger things afoot, which is what we are now going to be moving on and discussing. I want to hit a little bit on what I want to do about the challenges that I've been faced with. And as I've changed and I'm getting stressed out by interacting with family members, I want to figure out kind of a little bit what's going on there and theorize what I could do to make this system better because I want to be a better person than I have been and I want to live a better life. And I want to kind of talk through and figure out maybe what we could do about it. Because I kind of like what I've said earlier just now that they've seen me in ways that I don't know how to acknowledge because I'm only recently even seeing myself. But this might be where some of the disparity kicks in because they've seen me during 30 years of struggling. I have not seen myself really during 30 years of struggling because I've been wildly uh, in various states of unable to examine myself or unwillingness to examine myself. It's been a long journey to become Phineas Former. And just to try to be the best version of myself that I possibly can be. So I wasn't exactly online for a majority of my life. And I was struggling and didn't understand what was going on and just trying my best and trying to make it through these things. And my family was there seeing all of it in ways that I wasn't really present enough to be able to lay witness to. I now, through all of the work, actually, no, I want to pause for a second after saying that. So we're going to pause and then I'm going to keep going. I'm going to pause first. All right, I paused, but you don't have to because we've got places to be. It was a nice pause, but now let's get keep it going. And where I want to head next with it is simply stating that I'm different now than I ever was. Recently, earlier today, and I'll make other videos about it. That'll be maybe a little bit more fun. But I've just been really bottled up with my relationship lately. It's because I haven't been processing things as acutely as I have gotten used to processing things. Kind of got a little bit bottled up, and some of those emotions just kind of got out in a way that was less controlled than I usually like for them to be. And I learned a lesson about, like, okay, well, no, remember that we like processing these things actively as they come up. If more things are going on, just more processing work has got to go into that, not a big deal. And I had delayed my processing. And that marks the first such outburst of just not just that I've had for a really long time, like years, really, because I'm doing better than ever before, but have more of a handle on how to acutely handle what I'm going through, how to learn, how to grow. Things have been going pretty gosh darn well. Even today, when I was at work, so spicy. I've wanted to drink more because I'm still sober for a month now. And this was the strongest I've had the urge to like off work by a fifth of whatever and just we're not dealing with it. And this today was the worst that it's been. And I was ready like, okay, well, nope, we're at work. We have to get through this. So I don't identify as this angry person. Let's make a provision for what we're going to do when we get home. How are we going to address these emotions when the time comes? And then I can table the emotions until I can address it. For a little bit, I was going to do a sobriety unappreciation stream, which has helped me in the past to stay sober during challenging times. But I thought through shortly after coming up with that idea that I want to be responsible with my emotions. I don't want to be putting out just a lot of angry frustration energy and really blind expressions of what I'm going through. I want to be able to be more proactive than that, and I want to be able to be a little bit more constructive with that. Both because I don't want the world to be a worse place if I'm expressing raw emotionality that could be kind of damaging. If someone wants to come through and like, oh hey, stream, that's kind of fun, and I'm in the middle of like a really pissy tirade, I just don't love that. That feels really bad to me. I want to be more responsible than that. So I had the idea to make this video instead and more calmly examine the blind rage I felt, figure out what to do about it from a more appropriate standpoint than only being reactionary and getting on a live stream and just letting loose all of the energy that I had. Because I want to be more responsible than that, which is something that I learned in order to become me and the best version of me that I can be. And my family has not seen that new and improved version of me. Uh, because the entire thing behind this channel, all of my channels, all of what I do, is that I have a really hard time opening up to individuals. So I open up to the entire internet instead. I live a strange life. And I suppose, in very quick summary, I don't know how to go to my family members and say, hey, by the way, I'm not a scared little bitch anymore. That's just not a conversation I've ever needed to have, so I don't know how to have it. And if I'm going to be brave, then I would do it in person and I'd sit down and use all of the right words and say, hey, I'm not a little bitch anymore. And part of the frustration is I would be tempted to list out all of the things the things that I feel like I've been a bitch about. And my family is very quick to forgive. So they would say, I forgive you, totally fine. And it would not feel resolved within me because the weight of my sorrow would not match the received weight of an apology. And that difference has to be on me. Because if they say, we forgive you, and I say, no, I don't accept your forgiveness, then I'm the problem. That is a huge problem. That is a no-go. That is a danger, Will Robinson. You're messing up right there. You have to figure something out. If someone else has forgiven you and you reject their forgiveness, you have a problem. And they're quick to forgive, man. They're not holding on to this stuff. I I am. And it cannot ever be their job to say, "Oh, Phineas, you're holding on to this stuff. Let us help you not hold on to it." But maybe that's a misunderstanding of the social system of family members and loved ones, because maybe you are supposed to be able to say, hey, I'm having a really hard time letting go of this one. I would like help in coming to I don't even know. Because every time I've tried asking for emotional help or help in general, it doesn't really pan out because I don't understand the system. Like there's so much I don't get about what's going on right now. What I can say for certain is that I'm in a more advanced position of life than ever before. More consistently okay. My baseline days are happy. This is good. And if my only problem really is that I don't know how to tell my family that I'm doing good, I mean, that's not such a bad problem, I suppose. I just don't know how to have that conversation. I don't even know what conversation needs to happen. Like, do you just go to your family and say, hey, becoming a furry VTuber has helped show me more about who I am, and I'm happier and more calm and centered than ever before, and I'm like, and I don't know. And I thought that I had a lot more to say about all of this. And I've gotten ready to film for the long haul because I know the system, there's so much to it. Right now, it just seems like I'm ready to be done, but that can't quite be the case. Because there's things I want to do today, and a life I want to live, and videos I want to publish, and then possibly Resonate stuff, and then there's a cute boy who I want to snuggle by the end of all of it. And I don't want to be holding on to any of these emotions at all. So I wanted to make this video to try and get some of that energy out. And I feel something different. So give me a second. I'll try and sort out what I can. Hello, sister. I know we don't normally do the voicemail messages. We just play phone tag instead. Oh. And hello, sister. Yeah, I've been thinking lately, and I want to run something by you real quick. might be strange, but I'm in a more consistently happy and advanced position than ever before, and I'm just doing pretty well. And I've recognized lately that for a lot of life, I have not been doing well. And I wanted specifically to thank you for being so patient with me for my entire life. Um, I don't think I've been as grateful as I would have liked to be. And thank you for being there for me during all of that. Yeah, I have been. Yeah, straight up. But that's stuff I've been feeling for a little bit, and then you texted me today, and that's like, you know what? It's time to call sister, and so I did. I just wanted to drop that off to you. So there you go. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh hell yeah. All right, well I'm gonna go, but mutual love, sis. Bye. I'm not a little bitch anymore.